guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining this evening. In today's video, we will be discussing the pros and cons of living in the Isle of Man. So I've been here for 5 months now with our 2 kids, and Donovan moved over in December last year, so he's only been here 3 months. But in the time that we have been here, we have obviously learned quite a bit. We've gone through 2 hard lockdowns. Yeah, we've been through quite a bit, to say the least. So just excuse my appearance. It's after 10 o'clock at night, and this is pretty much the only time that we get to film these days, especially if it is something like this where we don't really want the kids to be bouncing around, because, you know, it is quite it's not very serious, but it's a serious discussion. So yeah, thank you for joining, and let's get started. Okay, so it's the 10 pros and cons living in the Isle of Man versus South Africa.
So we're going to start with the pros first, and then we'll get back to the cons later.
Yeah. So the first one that we have on the list is safety. That's obvious. Like, anyone who knows South Africa and why we opted to leave South Africa, because we had kids, and we just didn't want to risk their lives, because unfortunately living in South Africa, you are taking your life in your hands living there. Especially now more than ever with Covert, people have lost their jobs, companies are not able to operate anymore, and it wasn't a place where we wanted to raise our children at all. And so obviously doing a lot of research and, you know, other factors did come into play as to why we chose the Isle of Man, but safety was like a huge factor in the fact that there hardly is any crime here, crime whatsoever.
But like, also in the last, say, 2 years that we were in South Africa before moving here, we were, between the two of us, either directly involved or knew people who were directly involved in serious crime, and it seemed that it was getting closer and closer to home. Where everyone kept on saying it will get better, and it just didn't seem to be getting better. So that was why it was one of the biggest decisions, especially in regards to our children, as to why we decided to leave South Africa.
Yeah. So another pro is organization living here on the Isle of Man.
Everything works.
So everything works. Everything. So your tax officers, what we would call home affairs, everything. Like, people here do their jobs. You know that once you've submitted a document or whatever, you know that it will get done. They do prioritize their service. I think it's very, very organized here. There's little to no room for error. So it's really super, it's really helpful, really convenient.
One of my favorite things that I've noticed on the island is, and it's so simple, is the postal service.
Yeah.
Just the normal postal service, not like
I've
a courier
received
company.
so much post.
The postal service works. I mean, you can send anything through the post.
Yeah.
And it costs next to nothing. And
it doesn't get lost.
Yeah, it's almost guaranteed to get to where it's got to go.
Yeah, and you would think, I mean, if you're somebody that's watching this if you're not in South Africa and you're overseas, and you can see our expressions like, wow, the post works. It just shows you how bad it is in South Africa. And yes, it is. We said when we were discussing making this video that we're not going to sugarcoat anything. If something is bad, it's bad. The postal system in South Africa is bad. Here, it's amazing. But this isn't limited to that. It's just very organized here. Very, very in general. A third pro is it's extremely clean, and therefore it is very, very kid friendly. So when I say clean, I mean if you go to the park and you want to run around with your kids, or the beach, or it's incredibly clean. Like if you go to South Africa and you go to the beach or the park, expect a lot of litter, a lot of drug needles, like, you know what I mean? And you just don't want to take your kids anywhere near there. Like
It's broken glass.
It's broken glass. Like it's just here. It's incredibly clean, and it is a big thing. It is. You don't notice it until you're actually out of that environment and you're here and you see like, wow, there's no graffiti on the walls at all, ever. Like you drive down the streets and there's bins everywhere and there's no litter, and it's really, really a wonderful, pleasant change, So yeah, and like I said, kid friendly, really, really kid friendly. That is one of the reasons why we moved to the Isle of Man, is because it is so kid friendly. Every area has like a little playground. There's soft play. Before we went into lockdown, myself and my friends, we used to take our kids to Toddle Inn, which is a mom and tots group, and it's completely free, and all these kids run around, and our kids love it. It's so kid friendly. It's so wonderful. So that was a big factor for us. We chose to have our kids, and therefore it was our responsibility to ensure that they had the best life ever. So yeah. So for us, things like being clean is a big thing. Another one is friendly service and extremely helpful. So for example, yesterday I went to the co-op, and for those who don't know what that is, it's kind of like the equivalent of your local, I want to say cafe, like,
yeah.
But
it's like 7-Eleven.
Yeah, it's basically like a 7-Eleven. And it's directly below us. However, I brought my daughter and my son with. Donovan was working late. And we are obviously in a lockdown. However, the guy behind the counter saw that I was alone with my two children, carrying Aaron, Mia's walking, and I still had my basket as well. So he came around and he was like, sorry, ma'am, could I please help you? You look like you have your hands full. And obviously everything was done at a social safe distance, but he literally like carried my basket and followed me, and was so helpful. Like I got everything I needed. I stood back when he needed to put the basket on the counter and scan everything and packed everything for me. And I paid and I was on my way. And it was just a simple fact of he saw that I was alone with my two children, and like it is a bit difficult. So that's just one example of how super, super helpful and friendly the service industry is here. Today, we went to Tesco and our son decided to smash a whole thing of eggs. He literally thought it was a toy and smashed it, and there was just eggs everywhere. And so I went, obviously we picked up everything, and I went to one of the ladies that works at Tesco's, and I was like, I'm so sorry, like my son is one, he broke this. I'll obviously pay for it, it was a genuine accident. And she was like, no, don't worry, it happens, it's totally understandable. And yeah, we were fully prepared to pay for it, but they were so understanding, and they were so like, he's young, it does happen, and so please help yourself to another one, we'll dispose of this one. So yeah, so that's been a pleasant change as well, because anyone who knows what it's like in South Africa with the service, it's not always, like, don't get me wrong, it's not always, but like when you go to Checkers or something, and yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Anyway, so do you have anything to add?
Everywhere you go, people just want to talk to you. I mean, I've caught the bus a couple of times, and you can sit next to a complete stranger, and as soon as you sit down, they just strike up conversation and they start talking to you. Especially what I've noticed is people, when they hear that you've got a different accent to the UK, British, English accent, they ask, where are you from, blah, blah, blah. And they just really very friendly people.
Yeah. Number 5 is the food is amazing here. So what I mean by that is the quality of food. So for an example, fruit. Now I know what you're going to say, and that is the amazing fruit that we eat here is imported from South Africa. But that's actually not true. So we've checked that, and it is not, we've actually yet to find something that is imported from South Africa. It's either locally grown, or it's from Spain, or it's from the UK, or it's from France, or whatever. We've actually yet to find something such as fruits that is imported from South Africa. There is a South African food section in a shop called Robinson's, which is frightfully expensive, and that is imported. So you've got your All Gold and all your South African brands. It's very, very expensive. Like, for example, you'll pay the equivalent of 200 Rand for a bottle of tomato sauce. Put things into perspective for you. So, no. So there is a bit of a misconception there. But the quality of food is really, really good. Like, everything is just
And
really
it's not just with the fresh produce stuff.
Yeah.
What has caught me is the amounts of sweets and chocolates and biscuits and all of those
it's
things.
a problem.
There are so many, and I've yet to find one that is actually bad.
It's all nice. So the 6th point is secondhand. And secondhand. So I want to say the secondhand industry, but that's the wrong word. Community, the secondhand community is really, really good here. So first and foremost, people don't take advantage of things that are given by other people. So, for example, I've seen people give away couches for free, TVs, dishwashers, fridges, and it's not like it's broken or like nonsense or ugly or whatever. It's like brand new kind of things, but they've moved into a new house and it doesn't fit in the new house, or the couch doesn't fit properly or match or whatever, And unlike in South Africa, where people will then try and resell it to try and get their money back, here, a lot of the times it will just get posted on the secondhand groups, which is really, really nice, or the free cycle groups. One of the other things is there's a thing here called the pit. So if someone doesn't claim their secondhand item that they've posted on Facebook, then it gets taken to the pit, which is where you kind of dispose of unwanted materials or unwanted things. And like they'll say, I have this fridge. If it's not collected by, say, Friday, I'm going to take it to the pit, where anyone can go at any time and just take whatever is there, and it's completely free. So, like, for example, Douglas, which is the main town, they've got a warehouse in their pit, and that's where people go if they're looking for, say, lamps or anything that you can think of. At the moment, it's closed because of lockdown. But the secondhand community is really, really good here. I find you don't need to spend a fortune on furniture in particular. You can really get secondhand free stuff, and it works. It really does. The 7th point is public transport. So
brilliant.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
There's been a couple of days that I've had to either catch a bus from work or to work. Now, bear in mind, we used to live in Castletown. We now live in Port Erin, which is even further away from Douglas as to where Castletown is, and that's where I work.
We don't work in Castletown. We work in
No,
Douglas.
Douglas. Yeah. But, so to get on the bus from Castletown, it was £2.70 for a single trip. If I buy the monthly ticket, I think it's £60, and you make that back after a couple of trips. I mean, if you're catching the bus every day, okay, now that we live in Port Erin, I think a bus ticket's £3.10. So say I had to catch the bus twice a day, that's already £6.20. For a single trip, that's quite expensive. But if I do that for the whole month, I mean, I'm looking at about £120, £130. Where if you buy the monthly ticket, it's only £60, and you can catch the bus as many times as you want. And it's not like you wait for hours as well. The buses, the longest I've had to wait for a bus that was scheduled to go to that stop was an extra maybe 3 minutes.
They're on point. Like we said, they're very organized here. So.
And it's every 15 minutes there'll be a bus to anywhere on the island. So if you wait at a bus stop, it's basically there'll be a bus every 3 or 4 minutes would actually come past going to different places on the island. So if I want to go to Douglas from Port Erin, so there'll be a bus at 6 o'clock. Then at 6:05 there'll be a bus that goes to Peel, or a bus that goes to Ramsey, or a bus that goes to Foxdale, or somewhere else. But every 15 minutes there'll be a bus that'll go from here to Douglas,
which is really nice. And it's again with the safety thing as well. Like the first time I took a bus here, I was with my girlfriend, and we took our kids, and 2 women alone with all our kids. She's got 2, I've got 2, and again, like we were perfectly safe, and that was just something that I would never ever ever do in South Africa. I would never go alone on the bus with my kids, and it's awesome. The public transport here is amazing, and it's not just the buses, it's the taxis, anything, trains. It's really and it's not even frowned upon or anything, it's just because it works so well that everyone utilizes the public transport. The next one is proud of the island. So this is a pro. And the reason why we've put this down is because the fact that people here are so proud of the island and their surroundings and their heritage is the reason why everything works so well. Everything is so clean. People are so friendly. It is a big thing to be very proud of where you come from and your island, and it just works. Everything works here, so it is a pro that we have put on here, and the reason why, look at the results of it from people being really, really proud. Look at the results. We do live on a beautiful island, and no one can argue that. So yeah, do you have anything to add to that?
No, it's just exactly what you said. It's the pride that people have, that they show, does reflect in everything that you see around you. The parks, the castles are in mint condition.
The heritage, the museums,
all the museums, everything. The people, because they're so proud, they want to preserve their heritage on the island, and their culture, and they want to show people about it, and they want people to learn about it. So So you go to the museums. The museums are free, like when you
completely.
go to them,
Yeah.
and they brilliant. I mean,
Mm.
it's like it's kept in like excellent condition,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's like it's a good thing,
It is a good thing.
and the people are very proudly Manx.
Yeah. So the ninth one is it was COVID free. It is no longer COVID free. We have had quite a severe outbreak in cases.
I think there's, as of yesterday, there was
Yeah.
700 confirmed cases
Yeah.
on the
So,
island.
which is, I mean, anywhere else in the world that would be like 700. Do me a favor. Like if you are in South Africa, that's nothing. But because it is such a small island and because of the length of time, I mean, we had no cases whatsoever, and within like a few weeks it skyrocketed. But when it was COVID free, I think it was the only place on the planet that was COVID free, aside from, I think, I don't know, like Antarctica or something. But it was really awesome coming from a place like South Africa where COVID is like at its worst, and you come here and no one is wearing masks, no one is socially distancing, no one is having to make sure that you sanitize everything. Like in South Africa, we were like sanitizing our groceries before we packed them in the cupboards, sanitizing everything. Our kids had to go to school with masks on and face shields and not allowed to play with other kids, and I mean, I know I'm preaching because this is the current lives that everyone is around the world is living at this present moment.
But there was a level of normality on the island compared to the rest of the world,
yeah,
which was
it was sort of back to how it used to be, and it's really like it's sad. It's really sad that this is kind of like what our world has come to. But here on the island where we came here, and it was almost as if the COVID never existed. The kids were playing together and, sharing ice lollies and, and unfortunately that is not the case anymore. But I have every faith in this circuit break. It worked the last time. We were 3 weeks hard lockdown and we were able to get the cases under wraps, and let's hope and pray that it can happen again.
I'm sure it will.
So number 10 for pros is there are a lot of South Africans here on the island. So basically what we mean by that is if you are feeling a bit homesick, or if we had to move to a place where there were absolutely no South Africans whatsoever, I think it would have been a little bit harder for us to adapt to our new surroundings. But just the fact that we're able to communicate with other South Africans that have gone through exactly the same thing that we have, immigrating and all of that, it is super, super helpful. So it is a pro that there are lots of South Africans here.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually hear it walking in the streets in a couple of places. You just pick up the accent straight away. And also people pick up your accent, so it also helps.
And they start speaking Afrikaans to you.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I'm like,
and
sorry.
Again, back to the very friendliness of the island. Like that people just want to talk.
To you, yeah.
And
I mean,
especially so if you are South African and they're South African.
We always believe that South Africans are extremely friendly people, and they are, don't get me wrong. However, I'm finding that the locals here are way more friendly than South Africans. South Africans tend to keep to themselves a lot. They're a little bit reserved, obviously because of what we've had to go through. Whereas here, it's so free, that everyone just kind of like makes friends with everyone. Everyone talks to everyone, It's really so nice. So I'm going to end the vlog here because it is a little bit of a long video, longer than what we had anticipated. So we're going to make a separate video for the cons So I hope you stay tuned. We're actually going to do it now, but we'll split it into 2 separate videos. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I would love it if you would consider subscribing. But chat soon. Bye.
And if there's any questions that you want answered about the island,
Yeah.
drop us a message, and then
Yeah,
we'll let
feel
you know.
free to leave any comments in the comment section down below. But yeah. Bye guys.
Bye.